So the follow-up to this video from the previous one is regarding Tom Aspinall's personality in terms of contrasting that of Brock Lesnar, and where I left off, I was going to say Floyd Mayweather. In terms of, this is the quintessential American bad guy in a martial arts movie. Floyd Mayweather plays that role perfectly. Brock Lesnar plays that role perfectly. Somebody like Ken Masters, who is a fictional Street Fighter character, sort of embodies that personality. He's sort of an anti-hero, meaning that he's a good guy, but at the same time, he's sort of an anti-hero, sort of like Sean Strickland, who, by the way, is quite popular nowadays ever since he became champion. So I thought it's quite interesting to really bring this up because, once again, one of the things that I was emphasizing in the last video as it was ending is that in order to compel people to watch you, they either have to love you enough with the affection of wanting to see you do good, or hate you long enough to wish on your downfall and for them to witness it in some event in one form or another. Whether it's, let's say, Tyson Fury having a hard time with Francis Ngannou but still gaining the victory, and to some's opinion, maybe Francis Ngannou won that fight. Or somebody like John Jones, who got their butts handed to them twice with the likes of Dominic Reyes and Gustafsson in the first fight, only for John Jones to get the favorable decision on both of those events. And now you look at John Jones, guess what? He has a personality that you love to hate, which, by the way, falls into this theme that I'm talking about with the quintessential American bad guy in combat sports. You look at the other countries around the world in comparison to America. Wouldn't you say that America is a lot more privileged than any country out there on the planet? On top of that, you also got to take into consideration the reputation that the United States of America has developed over the years with, let's say, the war on terror, post 9/11, the Patriot Act, and then on top of that, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, which unarguably over time became very unpopular to the American population. And because of that, it gave America a certain image that it would have never imagined itself to be. In the 1980s, Hulk Hogan was the biggest professional wrestler in the entire world of combat sports and entertainment, and in particular professional wrestling. Now, why is that significant? What did he stand for during those times? He stood for say your prayers, take your vitamins, and I don't know what the last one is. Train, say your prayers, and take your vitamins. I suppose that's all the noble advice that Hulk Hogan gave to young kids. And he was an American hero. He wore the American flag. He fought the bad guys that were depicted literally as the nemesis of America, with, let's say, Sergeant Slaughter becoming, let's say, a traitor to the United States of America. And by the way, that storyline back in the 1980s, where Sergeant Slaughter was going to defect to the Iraqi side of the military world, they were going to have him burn the American flag, but instead he ended up burning a Hulk Hogan paraphernalia. Now, why is that symbolic? Because, for one, Sergeant Slaughter already got serious heat for playing a role of an American traitor to the Iraqis, in favor of the Iraqis, during the time when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait and the United States had to come in there and save them. So it was hot in and of itself. And now they were like, no, we're not going to have you burn the American flag. It's just going to be too much. So instead, they were like, let's burn the next best thing, which was Hulk Hogan's paraphernalia merchandise, which was a red and yellow Hulk Hogan shirt. So he goes and burns it. After he goes and he burns it, guess what happens? Sergeant Slaughter got some of the biggest heat that he ever got, and Hulk Hogan became the biggest hero as a result because he had to go out and fight this Sergeant Slaughter guy. So, fast forward to 1996, Hulk Hogan was absolutely done with this character. He decided to join the NWO. Can you imagine? Hulk Hogan was the greatest good guy in all of professional wrestling, but Hulk Hogan was also the greatest bad guy ever because when he started running the NWO, the guy looked like a Hell's Angels biker gang leader. He was running a crew of Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. Then you had Six Pack from the WWE who played X-Pac. And then you had, who else? Kurt Hennig. You had a whole bunch of lists. You guys know this is not a professional wrestling show. You know where I'm getting at with that. Bottom line, this right here, those two contrasting aspects of Hulk Hogan, being an American hero and being the biggest American heel in all of professional wrestling, is literally the quintessential attitude that we're talking about with the likes of Brock Lesnar and Floyd Mayweather. And then interestingly enough, of course, Brock Lesnar had a match with Hulk Hogan back in 2002, which he ended up ripping a Hulk Hogan shirt. But that's neither here nor there. Like I said, it's not a professional wrestling show, so let's concentrate on the combat sports aspects of things, which is why Tom Aspinall is just not as interesting as Brock Lesnar, Floyd Mayweather, or Conor McGregor, or maybe even other English guys such as Michael Bisping, who loves to trash talk. But then you look at Leon Edwards, you think to yourself, the guy isn't exactly the biggest trash talker ever, right? He's not. Not only that, he's not the greatest talker ever. You look at the way that he talks, it is as if he's very insecure about himself. It is as if he feels that, I don't know, man, he can't carry an adult conversation of some sort. And guess what? This is not really unusual from a lot of the kids that I see in the hood. They're unsure of themselves. They don't have the biggest confidence in the world. They don't look at you in the eye when you go and you talk to them because they never had a father figure around. So, could you say that Leon Edwards is sort of in that same bubble? Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously the guy grew up in a single mother home, right? Just like most people in the hood. But that's neither here or there. That just kind of tells you how his personality was forged in the way that it was. Really important to know. Other than that, here's another thing that I think is really important to know and understand. When you grow up in a certain area, in any part of the world, you're just going to have a different personality than anybody else. I'm going to tell you a story about a buddy of mine who was a Saudi. His dad, by the way, was a diplomat. So he understands world cultures on top of understanding, obviously, becoming an expert in Middle Eastern politics because he's literally embedded in it. He said to me, my friend's Saudi father, he said to me, the best way to judge and stereotype people is to analyze how their government treats them. And when he said that, it blew my mind to a whole different stratosphere of trying to understand what this world really is and how people are and how their environmental factors really play a significant role in how they're going to see themselves, their relationship with other people around them, and their neighbors, and their domestic neighbors, their international neighbors, maybe even, let's say, their neighbors within their own neighborhood, like a real neighborhood, right? I'm not talking about borders and state lines or anything like that. I'm literally talking about like your neighbor, how you treat them. Well, in America, is it any surprise to you that a hyper-capitalistic society like this, people play a role of, let's say, how do I say this? Keeping up with the Joneses, right? I mean, literally, you want to talk about keeping up with the Joneses? Check this out right here. See? Check out these brothers right here. You know what you see out of that? What you see right there was literally a prime example of guys that are showing off. I mean, look, I'm not knocking them or anything like that, right? There's nothing wrong with what they are doing, but come on. Obviously, they're taking a picture of a Mercedes-Benz to put it on the gram to sort of show the world their self-worth. Welcome to America. Welcome to the culture of trying to trying to one up on the next guy that is next to you. This is what you do around here. This is the personality that you gain from it. So now let me tell you about how I grew up in the East Coast. Everybody there grew up conceited. Everybody there grew up thinking they were God's gift on earth. They thought they were the toughest guy. They thought they were the best athlete. They thought they had all the money in the world, even if some of them were living destitute or damn near in poverty. But that's the reality of the East Coast mentality in the Northeast of America. Everybody is trying to hustle and grind. Everybody is trying to outdo each other. So it is no wonder that you develop this kind of personality when you grow up in the Western world. Now, you look at Khamzat Chimaev. A lot of people always say, this guy is very different than Khabib in Islam. Well, no kidding. When did he move to Sweden? Somewhere around maybe 11 or 15 years old. And then, lo and behold, guess what? It's no wonder the guy has a bit of a European hooligan mentality in him, because guess what? You're living in Sweden. What do you got there in Sweden? You got the Chechen mafia. You got hood Arab dudes that are running drug shipments from Spain and God knows where else. This is the reality of that world when you live in a Western circumference of whether it's the United States, Sweden, France, United Kingdom, Finland, Germany, all these places. So all these places forge your personality into who you are. And this is the reason why that press conference with Tom Aspinall, Sergei Pavlovich, Jerry Prohachka just were not up to par with entertainment factors. But then you got to think to yourself, well, what about Tom Aspinall? Isn't he a Westerner? Didn't he grow up in Manchester? Don't they have stabbings and riots that go on in Manchester, England? Yeah, they do. But you also got to understand, Tom Aspinall is not the most hood dude there is. The guy grew up with a great father figure. By the way, a guy who literally taught him how to fight, knew how to fight himself, was a jiu-jitsu black belt like himself, grown Tom to become a jiu-jitsu black belt and learn other mixed martial arts components on top of becoming a world-class level mixed martial artist in his current moment of prime time. And it is no wonder why he has the kind of results and the success that he has as a fighter, but it's also the reason why he doesn't have the most compelling personality there is. So I want you to think about that. I want you to ponder that. And I also want you to enjoy the fights and enjoy this content. And I hope you watch till the end, because there is a great point in every story and every content that I make in order to try to explain mixed martial arts in ways that has never been seen before. Don't forget to like and subscribe.